Here's another one. This is Scott Wright, who's a sixth grade teacher in New York State. And here's what he's done. He's taken the standards from New York State. And what he's done is he said, okay, got it. And what he does is a not yet to got it. And he does it as a scoring procedure. I get not yet, I'm in the red, I really don't have it yet. I get +2, I get 3, I get 3+, or I get 4. Now notice what I think is really important. He also marries the habits of mind to what he's doing. So he says, for example, in this standard, gather important information and quote or paraphrase details clearly and accurately in your own words. And then he says, I can, and his I can statements are, I can take responsible risks by sharing ideas and questions with the reader of my notebook. I can read with understanding and empathy. So notice that he's taking it and again, gather and use grade level words and subject matter vocabulary to express understanding. Now notice the I can. I can collect data and then reflect, think about my thinking. I can think and communicate with clarity and precision. Now, the other thing that he does that I think is interesting is he has the students do the self-assessment, my score, and then the teacher score. Now, what I have seen happen very often is the kids tend to underestimate, not overestimate in self-assessment. Very often they think they're not doing as well as we might think they're doing. We might see them coming along very well and they may feel, oh, I'm not there yet. I don't know if I'm ever going to get there. So if you find that the teacher score and the student score doesn't match, it's a fabulous opportunity for a conference because there are a couple of things that can happen in such a conference. The first is because it's standards-based, you can check to see, do they understand the standard? If you unpack it into the work that they're doing, is it clear? Is it evident? Perhaps one of the reasons they're not doing well is because they don't really get what this is saying. Maybe they don't even understand the word paraphrase. Maybe they really need to hear more about what this means. So that's an opportunity to do some coaching. And then the other piece of this is if they're not doing, if you think they're doing better than what they think, you can point it out. You know, I'm just wondering why you gave yourself a 2+ and I gave you a 3. So I'm curious to know, what did you see? What was the evidence that you looked at in your work that suggested a 2+? And then here's what I saw as evidence that suggested a 3. And that way, again, you're giving them a better understanding of what you're looking for in the work and how to become more accurately and efficiently self-assessing, and also not being afraid to just say, hey, I'm doing okay. I'm getting there. It's a struggle, but I am getting there. And we all need that. We all need to learn how to pat ourselves on the back, to feel better about the fact that we're almost. And that very often it takes a lot till you get to that green. I got it. I know it. I understand this now. And sometimes got it is very ephemeral because you get it in this situation and it doesn't transfer to the next. Learning is complex, as we all know. So when you learn to be more self-assessing, when you begin to see the habits of mind that support your assessing, when you begin to see how that works for you in terms of your learning, you're beginning to build the growing habits for self-managing and self-monitoring, and then finally managing how you think about that. So another example we have is from grade 2. And with grade 2, this one is from a school in Edmonton, Canada. And one of the things that I love is when I visited there, they had a big banner in the school that was, it said actually, think back, look ahead. And that's in every classroom. And it means think back, think about what you've been learning and reflect upon that. Look ahead, Set your goals, see where you're going next. So in this particular class in grade 2, the teacher did this. She decided to do grade 2 number operations unit, and she had a little log, I guess it was like a little notebook. And the notebook was basically one that students kept. It was their math notebook. And in it, she would have, for example, the first thing was the learning outcomes. So it was a pre-printed sheet that went into the notebook, and it said, I can use manipulatives to show and describe addition to 100 without regrouping. Now notice she's saying that's the I can statement. That's my learning target. That's what I want the kids to be able to do. Then she said, use manipulatives to show, and she gives them a problem so that they can show how they're going to be able to demonstrate their adding 25 and 33. And then the other one is create another problem of your own to demonstrate your understanding. So don't you love the idea that she gives one, they give one? And the evidence is when you make one up, can you make one up? That's often a challenge, especially I like this when I see algebra teachers doing things like this. And kids make up very complex problems, and then they have to solve it. So it's really interesting to see how much do I understand the dynamics of the problem solving? And then how do I show you evidence of it? And then the date when I got it, I understand it, it's mine now. I'm managing myself, I'm self-assessing, I'm beginning to see how to manage my learning targets, how to make them happen, how to work on them, and then how to show you the work that I'm doing. This one was one that was co-created in a second grade. And this was by a teacher in Texas. And what she did was she decided that she was going to have the kids start to be more self-assessing. This was based on fluency rubric that she had for the learning goals around reading aloud. And so what she did was she had them first co-create the rubric. What do you need to do to be more fluent? And obviously she worked with them and they came up with accuracy, rate, expression, and phrasing. Now that's no coincidence. Obviously, we all know that. These were the key ideas that she was teaching them. However, what they did do was they started to co-create with her. So what would it look like if I were accurate? And they have just 3 options. 1, I'm not getting it. 2, I'm almost there. And 3, woo, I got it. And she would give it. They came up with 4 or more mistakes. Don't go back and reread mistakes. If you have 2 or 3 mistakes, go back and reread some mistakes. If you have 1 to 2 mistakes, go back and reread all mistakes. So they're now beginning to understand this and they look at it. Now, what I loved was I grabbed this from one of the kids because I just loved it, got permission to change it, to share it. But I love this kid who was doing this. Notice the check marks. So I read too fast or too slow part of the time. And that was where the student saw as it circled there, that's where I need to improve. So I'm reading okay, but these are the places where I need to improve. And then notice finally the check marks. I get it. I know where I am and I'm now reading better. And what they learned was my reading fluency goal is to read with a little more feeling and emotion. So this student is now moving into the territory of read with feeling and emotion, be able to read so that somebody really wants to hear you. Now, what the teacher did was, in many instances, the kids put the little headphones on, read aloud, and they read it into a tape. They played it back. Well, tape, I don't know, in my days it was a tape. I'm sure now it's something else. But anyway, they read it into something that was really able to then let them play it back and hear it. And then from there, what they were able to do was score themselves and work on getting better at it. This teacher found this strategy was so powerful for the students that she wanted on to develop it not only in fluency, but in other aspects of reading.